Dallas, Fort Worth. AALAC, the Chasing Your Dream Book Tour and Expo is coming to your area. Mark your calendars, May 18th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have some amazing authors, some amazing business owners that's going to be sharing about their brand. We have some workshop facilitators that's going to be coming out. They're going to be teaching on branding, marketing, and networking. I want you to plan to be in the building, to be educated, empowered, and encouraged. Come out, support.
Aspiring Authors Magazine is a founding sponsor for Da Crew podcast. Get featured inside the magazine and allow your voice to be heard around the world.
Aspiring Authors Magazine is an international magazine founded in May of 2020 by Queen Angela. Get featured.
At Wings of Transformation Publishing, we are committed to helping our authors reach their goals and pursue their dreams of becoming published authors. We work closely with each author to ensure a successful publishing experience, and we are dedicated to helping them tell their stories in the most meaningful and impactful ways. We look forward to putting you on the path to writing your book.
Hello, and welcome to the Crew Podcast. I am the visionary, Queen Angela, and welcome to Season 2. I want to thank you for tuning in and for all of your support throughout Season 1. We're back, them Divas of the Airwaves. So thank you for joining us tonight. Share this with someone in your circle.
The book, A Song for Zipporah, written by David Harris, is a powerful historical fiction centering around the life and character of Moses' future wife, Zipporah, before they met. Book author David Harris brings the reader into the relationship between Moses and Zipporah, which was gradual and lush. The story unfolds beautifully when Moses finally asks Zipporah to marry him. Purchase your copy of the book detailing this authentic story, A Song for Zipporah by David Harris today. It's available online at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com.
Let's talk about it with your host, Shanette Johnson. Join me every first and third Monday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and let's talk about it. Good evening, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Let's Talk About It. I do apologize for being a tad bit late, but I'm not at home. I'm in Denver right now, and I'm having a little issue with the Wi-Fi at the hotel. But without further ado, let me bring on my guest. I'll be having a conversation this evening with Glenn Kemp. He is currently incarcerated at the DRDC in Denver, Colorado. He was sentenced to 192 years plus life. He is a father. He also has 2 books out, I believe. Before his incarceration, he was a carpenter. So help me welcome Glenn Kemp to Let's Talk. Hey, Glenn, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well, Michelle. How are you? Shanette, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Well, I'm glad that you chose me to come to talk about your situation. So I would like for you to go ahead and talk to the viewers. Let them know something about you. Let them know about you.
Well, I was raised on a farm, as a young lad, and I was raised in a family-owned business. Like some kids, they have Tonka trucks, as toys, but I had heavy equipment, grew up with heavy equipment as my toys, and my father started me out working on it, operating, at a very early age, and I became pretty good at it. And after I worked some as a heavy equipment operator, I took 5 years apprenticeship as a carpenter, as a general contractor in the residential industry, repairing homes and adding on rooms, just anything, ceramic tile, anything that needed to be done to a house. And so, as far as my livelihood, that's what I've done. I've worked some kind of construction most of my life.
Okay. So let's get down to this what's at hand on this evening. What would you like the viewers to know about your situation? Would you like to start from the beginning, because you agreed to come back if we run out of time to continue our discussion about what's going on? So you have the floor, and to discuss what you want to discuss at this time.
Well, I believe I was wrongfully convicted and sentenced. Early on, the prosecuting attorney in this case moved to amend my charges and add some elements, to my crime, to the crime first sexual assault. This stemmed from an altercation, that I had with my children's mother. I had found the night that we had, this fight, mostly verbal, I had found that she had been drugging my children and locking them away in the bedroom while she caroused around, in and outside our home. And my 6-month-old son, died. I had gotten up for work one morning to go to work, and I was called back and told that my son was dead. And when I got back home, the police were at my apartment, but I could still, and they wouldn't let me in, but I could still see my 6-month-old son lying dead in the floor. That, really, tore me up. It wasn't until 2 weeks after this incident that I found that she wasn't with him the night that he died, that she had been out all night. And when I got back in, when I got ready to go to bed and get ready for work the next morning, she was on the couch as though she had been there all night. I found later that she had not gotten back till not long before I got ready to go to work. And so, this kind of is where the argument and fight, started from. It was alleged, that I had beat her with my fist, and a shoe and what have you. What I did do, and, I regret doing what I did, because I know that there's no reason why a man should put his hand on a woman. I butted her with the heel of my hand, one time between her eyes, and she got a bloody nose and a black eye out of it. I took her to the emergency room, early the next morning. When I took her to the emergency room, that was the only injury that was reported was she said that she had some neck pain. I was later convicted of first-degree assault for allegedly breaking her nose. But when I read the medical report, the word nose was never mentioned in a medical report, nor was there any post-emergency room examination treatment for a nose injury. So even though there wasn't, the doctor, 2 weeks after this incident, the detectives went back to the hospital and got the doctor to sign a serious bodily injury form saying that there were breaks and fractures. The doctor signed this form, and a few months afterwards, he emailed the prosecuting attorney and told the prosecuting attorney that he was mistaken when he signed the serious bodily injury report indicating that there was breaks and fractures, because he did not take any x-rays of anything but her hands, because her fingers were swollen and there were no breaks or fractures in her hands. And so, I remained in jail for a while. And about a week before trial, the district attorney went and talked to the doctor again at the hospital and got him to come to testify at trial and say that in his opinion, her nose was broken, even though the word nose was never mentioned as an injury. So I was convicted and given 64 years to first-degree assault for literally breaking a nose that was never reported as an injury.
So I have a question, and real quick. So yes. You said that you was at work and you got a phone call that your son was deceased.
Yes.
And that from her that she would go out. She would go out, and for her, when she would go out, she would drug the kids. Was it? I just was it any charges brought against her?
They recommended the charges be brought against her for negligence resulting in death, but the district attorney that was prosecuting me went to the intake prosecutor, and they decided they weren't going to file any charges against her, to have her testify against me.
So, okay, so your son's life didn't mean nothing to them, but a broken nose mean a lot to them.
Yes, they filed a motion in limine, which is a motion to stop, to disallow, any kind of certain information into the jury. They filed a motion in limine to keep any information about my son out of from the jury from hearing anything about my son. So the jury never heard that my son, lost his life, that my son had died, that the judge granted that. And so my attorney was supposedly talked to the 16-year-old kid that she had been out with all night. And he was the same kid that she had been sending to the store to buy the adult NyQuil that she was giving to my 7- and 5-year-old, and drugging them and locking them up in the bedroom. And she was putting liquid NyQuil in my 6-month-old son's milk, and locking him away in the bedroom with her. So this is how we got to where we are now.
So right now, we have a question from Patrice. She would like to know, what charges did she get?
She didn't get any charges. I was told by her mother later, that she was threatened. She had disappeared, I believe, while I was still in jail. And about a week before trial, she, her sister, I think, knew where she was and had told the prosecutor where she was. And so I was told that she was threatened, that if she didn't testify against me, that she would get 24 years herself for a pending grand larceny that she had. And she had just been on probation for grand larceny prior to that.
Wow. It's just, to me, it's just unbelievable that a baby life, a 6-month-old baby life, wasn't important. She's drugging this baby. She's giving this baby and the rest of the children adult NyQuil, putting them to sleep so she can go out and do her thing, and wasn't no charges brought up against her. But in alt that in you guys altercation, she received a broken nose,
No.
and that's why and you are incarcerated because of a broken nose.
That's for the first degree assault charge. For the first degree assault charge.
Oh wow.
I'm gonna
Yes.
right
Call me right back. I'm gonna talk to my audience, and this is outrage. Outrage.
Yes.
You give a man 192 years plus life.
The caller has hung up.
Plus life. But you have a mother with 3 children. I believe he said 7, 5, and 6 months. Adult NyQuil, locking them in a room so she can go out and party, and no charges brung up against that. No charges. And this is, once again, we're in voting seat. This is the year to vote. Tomorrow is voting all over the states. The states is voting for judges. Do your research on these people that you're allowing to get on these benches. Some of them promises everything. Oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And in reality, they ain't gonna do it. They ain't gonna do nothing until their family is facing something like this. It doesn't make any sense to allow these people to sit on these benches and rule.
Okay.
Are you back?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
What would you like me to
Okay, so let's, I was just like kind of amazed that it wasn't no charges brung up on her, about drugging the kids. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty much all the discovery that had anything to do with the investigation about her was really kept out. It was kept away from the jury. It was, like I said, I was alleged to have been with a shoe, and I have not.
We can't hear him.
Can you hear him now? Can you hear Angela? Can you hear now?
Can you hear me?
Your volume is very low. It's very low. It's like you in a tunnel.
It's like I'm in a tunnel.
Yeah, we can't hear you at all
Like
either.
I'm in the tunnel.
You can't hear me at all.
You can't hear me.
No, we couldn't hear you either.
I think it's my Wi-Fi connection over here. What about now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
You can
Hello?
hear? Can you hear him now?
Hello?
Okay,
Yes,
go
we can
ahead,
hear y'all
Glenn.
fine now.
Okay, go ahead, Glenn.
Okay. Yeah. And so when when he had told me what had happened when I got home to confront her with what I had just been told, she was not at home again, and we had went and got her sister, from Oklahoma, when the baby died. We went and brought her and her sister and her brother-in-law out here, and so her sister was asleep on my block sofa, so I woke her up and asked her, where her sister was, and she told me that she was 2 doors down. I went down and knocked on the door, and this was about 3:30 in the morning, actually. And I went down and knocked on the door and let me in. And there was a futon bed blocking the door, where I could only move about 4 feet inside the apartment in a little foyer area. And so I stepped into that, and she was there, passed out on the futon bed. There was another man laying on the bed beside her with he was fully dressed. She wasn't, dressed, covered too well. And so I woke her up, and there was only about 18 inches beside the wall where I could get down through the side of the wall and wake her up. Well, I woke her up, but I had to slide back out in space to allow her to walk out. The lady of the apartment had went into the kitchen to get a drink of water. And so when she got up, she started down that little spot down through the wall, and she tripped on the corner of the futon bed and fell face first into my chest. And so the only thing that I could do, the door was still open behind me, was take a step backwards. And about that time, the lady was coming back around the corner out of the kitchen and saw her face first into my chest and me taking a step backwards out into the hallway. And she testified in trial that, it looked as though I was dragging her. And so that's where I get my second-degree kidnapping charge. It was from when she fell into my chest and I stepped out into the hall. Later, her husband, when we left, I put my arm around her. I put my jacket over her shoulders and stuff. She didn't have on any clothing, just a skirt. And I put my jacket around her shoulders, and we started 2 doors down to our apartment. And the only other person that saw us at that time in the morning was the lady of the house's husband, who looked out into the hallway. He was asked in trial, was there any scratching or kicking or fighting? And he told them no. It just looked like two people going home. She was drunk. He had his arm around her shoulder, and they were going home. But still, I was charged with second-degree kidnapping. It was alleged that I had committed that kidnapping with a deadly weapon in my hand. But
I also read that. I don't mean to cut you off, but while it's on my mind, I also read that you the a deadly weapon, a shoe was a deadly weapon as well.
Yeah, the prosecution had a brown paper bag, sitting on their desk throughout the whole trial. They never introduced a shoe into evidence in the whole trial. And like I said, the doctor said that he didn't look like that he couldn't find that she had been hit with anything. And so, a shoe was never introduced. They had a shoe in it, but a shoe was never introduced because there was no injuries, anything to indicate that she had been hit with anything.
Okay, so we have a question right now. Was you guys legally married, or
children together. We were living together. She and I and our children were the only ones on the apartment lease.
Okay. And also, let me. You said you was giving us a rundown of your charges.
Yes.
And from what I was reading, all your charges when the verdict came back in. What you know what? Wait a minute. Let me go back. Let me go back.
Okay.
I want to go to the because we had talked and something had came out about the forensic scientist that got on the that testified against you. She's making headlines over here in Denver because she fabricated some of her findings in some of these cases. Her name is Yvonne Woods.
Yes.
If you guys want to look it up, her name is Yvonne Woods. She fabricated some of her findings on some of these trials, so they have in other states come in and go over her files. So a lot of people that she got on could be coming home because of what she did. What she did.
Yes. Well, initially I didn't think anything of it. She did testify at my trial, but it was in trial that I found out that it was possible that other DNA was involved also. Now, I don't mean to infer in any way, that I didn't have sex with Nicole. I did. But I had after the fight ended, I had laid across the foot of the bed. And actually, I had been drinking some myself, so I went to sleep rather quickly, laying across the foot of the bed. And I was awakened by her pulling my hand, pulling me toward. And I was still dressed at the time, and I got up and I got undressed, you know what I mean? And we had sex. So that was something that I never denied from the very beginning. But in trial, there was testimony, after Missy Woods, Yvonne Woods testified that my DNA was the only DNA that was, found, during her testing. Well, the lady of the house, had testified on in trial herself that she had came into the living room in the middle of the night, go to the kitchen, and that she had observed, what I mean, this guy, performing oral sex on her. So, it made me question, the integrity of Missy Woods' testing, in my case, because when she testified that my DNA was the only DNA that was her.
But in actuality, it was another person DNA there as well.
Yes.
Wow. And they didn't test that.
No. So
the baby being drugged with the NyQuil and passing away, she wasn't the mom wasn't charged or anything with that. The baby life really didn't mean anything. I don't mean no offense. I was just, I'm just trying to process this. It this is kind of crazy to me that a child's life over a broken nose, is just like, whoo. And then the DNA, it was two DNAs, but yours and someone else, but Yvonne got up there and said that it wasn't nobody else's, but it was yours. And I mean, this is just crazy. I have two questions. Did CPS get involved?
Well, my children got taken and adopted out. She she got out of jail, when the trial was over, she had stopped going to see the children. She basically abandoned the children, and went on with her life. And so our children got adopted out. She passed away 7 years after I was incarcerated. May her soul rest in peace. So this is not about me. I don't wish to disparage her in any way. She is the mother of my children.
Right.
And regardless, of the way the situation has turned out, I'm a firm believer that for whatever reason we end up where we are in life. Some things you can go over, some things you can go around, some things you can go under, but some things you got to go right straight down the middle of them. So I am where I am for a reason. I just don't see this as a reason,
right.
for the reason that they say that I'm here.
Okay, so we have another question. How did they explain the kidnapping if you all lived together and if you were going home?
Just from the fact that, the lady testified that it appears as though I was dragging her when she tripped. She didn't see her trip on the corner of the bed. By the time she came back from around the corner, she had already tripped, on the corner of the futon bed and fell into my chest. And so, like I said, it was just about a 4 foot by 4 foot foyer area right there where I stepped inside the door. So the only place for me to go when she fell into me was one step backwards, and that put us in the hallway. And that's where my secondary kidnapping came from.
Wow. So let me just read some of these your charge, the jury verdict. And we're going to go with, I got my papers all over the place. And it says, if you find the defendant not guilty of sexual assault, you should discard this instruction. If, however, you find the defendant guilty of sexual assault, then you should then answer the following question. I don't want to say her name out of respect to her. So did she suffer serious bodily injury result from the commission of the sexual assault? The jury said no.
The jury said no, but the court used serious bodily injury anyway to enhance my sentence. That's how I get 96 years for that charge. They filed a crime of violence sentence enhancer, on me for mandatory sentencing. And so instead of, when the jury said no to that, they had to agree unanimously that there was no serious bodily injury. And so when they said no, that case in and of itself, should have been dismissed, because I think I sent you a form, a verdict form.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at right now, and it's kind of blurry because of my background. And it has it says no, and it has the jury foreperson name written on it. So that one was for they found you not guilty for the sexual assault. So now let's go to this one. And it says, this one said, if you find the defendant not guilty of second-degree kidnapping, you should disregard this instruction. If, however, you find guilty of second-degree kidnapping, then answer the following question. Was the kidnapping accomplished by using a deadly weapon? And the jury said no.
But they enhanced that sentence also by using serious bodily injury and deadly weapon. They enhanced that sentence and gave me 96 years for that sentence also. And that was illegal.
So they
because the statute says that they have to prove, if they're trying to prove extraordinary aggravated circumstances, they have to prove those by the same standard applicable to the elements of the substantive crime itself. So they have to prove those beyond a reasonable doubt. When the jury said no, that they failed to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, jury instruction number 4, the judge had instructed them that they must find me not guilty of that count. But they went ahead and found me guilty of the count and gave me the 96 years for it.
But the jury said no. So how can they still find you guilty of something that the jury said no of?
You know, okay. It took me 22 years. It took me 22 years to find that. You know, I had it all along, all of these years.
Okay.
It took me 22 years to find it.
So this is the last one. So they done found you not guilty on 2 charges.
Yes.
So now is this one. If you find a defendant not guilty of second-degree kidnapping, you should disregard this instruction. If, however, you find a defendant guilty of second-degree kidnapping, then answer the following question. Okay.
You have 1 minute left.
Yes.
Also, was the victim of sexual assault as defined in instruction 17? And they answered yes. Go ahead and call me back, because we need to get this. I need to understand how you get 2 no's and 1 yes, and then they come up with 192 years plus put a life on there. They already sentenced you to life when they gave you 192 years.
Well, I hadn't been in any kind of trouble in 22 years. You know, they went back 22 years and got old cases when I was a younger man and filed habitual criminal on me. You know, also, and so they gave me time for an habitual criminal also.
Wow.
The caller has hung up.
Wow. This is unbelievable. This is so unbelievable. I'm lost as word. You know, comments to sit on these juries, and then we sit on a jury, and you come back with a verdict, and they still disregard what the jury say. I'm looking at it right here. You know, they telling you the jury said no on 2 charges, and then you add enhancements and give him 92 years for this charge that the jury said no, and then you give him another charge, on another charge, you give him 92 years. I mean, I don't get it. I really don't get it. I really don't know why Milton going milk, but I don't understand. So the last one was yes. The last charge they answered. They did say yes on it. For the second-degree kidnapping.
You know, that was the information that, like I said, they found me guilty of kidnapping because of what the lady testified to when she fell into my chest and I stepped backwards out the door. Kidnapping, you know, is if you seize and carry or move anybody, you know, however slightly from one place to another. So when she testified to that, that's the way that I was found with kidnapping. They attempted to enhance my sentence, to find aggravating circumstances by asking a question. So when the jury said no, that sentence could not be aggravated at all. They even went further, in the amended count 4, when they applied serious bodily injury and deadly weapon to all of my charges, and they joined them all conjunctively to say that these elements that I was found guilty of these aggravating circumstances in all of these counts, which that's not so. The jury said no. So if that crime of violence sentence enhancer could not stand, and they applied that to every charge. So my sentence, is illegal. Some of the things, they changed some of the elements of the crimes by conjunctive, by adding and without any comments or anything, as though they were actual elements of the crime as constructed by the Colorado State Legislature. But it wasn't true. When they amended the charges, they changed the elemental structure of the charges. And when they did that and then failed to prove those elements, then those charges should have been dismissed.
Wow. Well, people, we got to get out there and vote. When you go vote tomorrow for these judges, whoever you voting for, do your research. Just don't go down the line and check off the box because you just there just to vote. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do your research of who you putting on the bench, on these benches. Who especially who we gonna put in the White House. We gotta do a lot of praying, people. We have our grandchildren that's coming up. We have nephews, uncles, brothers, sons. We got to be their voice. We got to speak up for them. This can happen to anybody. Anybody. Glenn, I would like to thank you for sharing some of your story with us, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again. I believe it'll be March 18th, where we'll have a family member. I believe your nephew will be in studio, and we'll be talking to him as well. I appreciate you. I thank you. And we're going to be praying for you.
Shanette, thank you for giving me an opportunity to tell my story. Oftentimes we don't get a chance to tell our stories to the public. So I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
You're welcome. You guys did the work, so I'll use my voice to speak for you. If that's my ministry, if God is you want me to use my voice to speak on behind the men and women that are wrongfully incarcerated, over sentenced, or so I'm going to be my voice. I'm going to use my voice to speak for you. And I would like to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in tonight and talking with me. Just remember, when you go out there to vote right, and think of our grandkids, our great grandkids. Office, we got to protect them, if nobody else. I love you guys. Stay blessed. Enjoy the rest of your week. You can catch me here on the first and third Monday of each month at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you. I love you. And remember this. Use your voice. Speak up, even if it's shaky. Have a good night and be blessed.
Let's talk about it.
with your host, Shanette Johnson. Join me every first and third Monday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and let's talk about it.